Today we're going to take a look at Lesson 14 of Module 4, and the objective says, multiply unit fractions by non-unit fractions. Number 1 says, solve by multiplying. An example has already been done for you. Let's take a look at the example. The example says, 1/2 of 2/5 equals 1/2 times 2/5. Now all you do from here is you multiply the numerators. 1 times 2 is 2. And then you multiply the denominators. 2 times 5 is 10, and you get 2/10. Then when you simplify it, 2/10 can be simplified down to 1/5. Let's solve A, B, and C together, and then we'll have you try D at home. 1A says 1/2 of 4/4. So let's write that down as a problem. You have 1/2 times 4/4. Now when you multiply, do the numerators first. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4, the denominators would be 8. You get 4/8, which then can be simplified down to 1/2. If you take a look at that, 4/4 is actually equivalent to 1. So if you said what is 1/2 of 1, it would be 1/2. Let's take a look at 1B. 1B says 3/4 times 3/5. Let's multiply the numerators first. 3 times 3 is 9. Now let's multiply the denominators. 4 times 5 is 20. And that is in simplest form. So 3/4 times 3/5 would equal 9/20. 1C says 2/3 of 1/8. So let's set that up as a problem. 2/3 times 1/8. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 8 is 24. Both of these numbers can be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 would be 1. 24 divided by 2 would be 12, so you'd get 1/12 in simplest form. Try to do 1D on your own at home. Let's move on to question number 2. Number 2 says 6/8 of the songs on Ty's iPod are hip-hop. Half of the remaining songs are rhythm and blues. What fraction of all the songs are rhythm and blues? Let's go through and underline any important information that's in this problem. First, it says 6/8 of the songs on his iPod are hip-hop. 1/2 of the remaining songs are rhythm and blues. What fraction of all the songs are rhythm and blues? Let's take a look at this question more carefully. This question could confuse you. They give you a fraction of 6/8, but what they're telling you is 6/8 of all the songs on his iPod are hip-hop. So what we actually need to solve for are the 2/8 that are left remaining. So you need to be careful there, because I'm thinking a lot of kids, when you first read this, you'd be thinking, okay, I need to write down 6/8 times 1/2. Realistically, we already know that 6/8 of his iPod are accounted for. There's still 2/8 left over, and half of the remaining songs are rhythm and blues. So there's our problem. 2/8 times 1/2. Now when we solve this, we're going to find out what fraction of all the songs are rhythm and blues. Let's start by multiplying the numerators. 2 times 1 is 2. Now the denominators. 8 times 2 is 16. We can simplify this by dividing the numerator and the denominator by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So, what fraction of the songs are rhythm and blues on Ty's iPod? 1/8 of them. Let's move on to our last question, question number 3. Question number 3 says, Robert and Marcus mowed the yard on Saturday. Dad told Robert to mow 1/3 of the yard. He told Marcus to mow half of the remainder of the yard. Dad paid each of the boys an equal amount. Marcus said, Dad, that's not fair. I had to mow 1/2 and Robert only mowed 1/3. Explain to Marcus the error in his thinking. Draw a picture to support your reasoning. Let's draw a picture to help us solve this problem. This rectangle right here is going to represent their yard. Dad told Robert to mow 1/3 of the yard, so let's split the yard into 3 parts. So this first piece right here would be 1/3. That represents the portion that Robert had to mow. Dad then told Marcus to mow half of the remainder of the yard. So take a look here. If you look, there's 2 sections left in the yard, and his dad said to mow half of the remainder. So this would be half of what's left over for Marcus to mow. So when Marcus goes to his dad and says, "Dad, that's not fair. I had to mow 1/2 and Robert only mowed 1/3. Marcus really doesn't understand that he did the same amount of yard work in terms of mowing that Robert did. Each boy actually did 1/3 of the yard. We can also illustrate this by doing it as a math problem. After Robert was done mowing, there were 2/3 of the yard left to mow, and Marcus mowed half of it. So now we can multiply. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. You get 2 6, which then you can divide each number by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So Marcus just did 1/3 of the yard, just like his brother Robert. This concludes our lesson on multiplying unit fractions by non-unit fractions. If you have any questions for me, please bring them into our next math class.